Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you my comprehensive 5.56 AK buyer's guide. If you're new to this channel or you don't know me, my name's Clay. I've been shooting AKs for a long time. Specifically, I've been shooting 5.56 AKs since 2015, back when it was very uncool, dare I say frowned upon, to buy a 5.56 AK. Flex on anyone with a 5.56 AK was completely out of bounds back then, but it was just very much looked down upon. And even back in those days, people thought 5.56 AKs were hodgepodge builds that were just done for the American market. They weren't reliable, they weren't good to go, but time has shown that all of that, for the most part, is totally false, to the point where a lot of people are looking at 5.56 AKs today as an alternative to 5.45 and 7.62 because of ammo prices. People want to get their AK fixed, but they want to have their cake and eat it too with these things. They don't want to go out and spend a butt ton of money dumping 7.62, certainly not 5.45, into trash. So here we are, 5.56 AKs. They're out there, they're good, they're viable, and they're cheaper to shoot. So given all this time I have on 5.56 AKs, it's been quite a long time, going on 10 years now. I've read comments where people wanted me to give my comprehensive guide on 5.56 AK. So today what we're going to do is talk about all of the current 5.56 AK options. We're going to talk about what are they selling for, what spec are they, what aftermarket parts work with them, and what magazines are compatible with them. Then we'll get into some AKs that you can find on the used market. So these are 5.56 AKs that have come in at one time that are no longer available new. At the end of this video, we will talk about some boutique 5.56 AKs that can be bought new that are going to be very expensive. These are not factory-built guns. These are guns built by boutique manufacturers or gunsmiths. For example, your Rifle Dynamics, your Meridian Defenses, your Krebs Customs, things like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my 5.56 AK buyer's guide. But before we do that, I gotta tell you guys, the best way to support this channel is through thirdpinthreads.com. We have a lot of cool merch. We just launched a few new t-shirts on the website, including this one, a little bit of Texas, a little bit of com block, balled up all in one. I don't do Patreon, and I refuse to read paid ads. That's the best way to support us. This is not some company that I'm shilling for. This is a company that I co-own. So you're directly affecting me and this channel. And if you end up buying one of these t-shirts, all I can say is thank you. It's greatly appreciated. All right, let's get back to 5.56 AKs. So let's start on the bottom end, the cheapest 5.56 AKs that money can buy today. There's really two companies that come to mind. Let's go ahead and start with Palmetto State Armory. PSA is probably going to be the first place people go to look if you're just getting into AKs in general, and they probably do have the cheapest 5.56 AKs compared to other companies like Pioneer Arms. So what can you get from PSA? You are going to find the 16-inch AK-101, which is a 16-inch AKM that shoots 5.56. You're also going to find a 5.56 Krink, a clone of a Krink that they make, and you're also going to find some variants that they make that take AR-15 magwells. Not going to waste much time on those, so let's talk about the 101 and the 5.56 Krink. Now the 101 price point is between $700 and $800, so this is very much a beginner, first-time AK buyer grade AK. Right off the bat, this is a PSA 5.56 AK. They have had a bit of a checkered past. The 5.45 certainly have. So reliability wise, your mileage may vary. They do have the lifetime warranty, so you're probably good once you buy it the first time. They'll keep replacing it or replacing parts, but it is a hassle to send stuff back. Purely on the AK, so what is it? It's an AKM spec AK, meaning AKM is going to be the most popular variant of AK, the most popular spec of AK that you can find on the planet. So aftermarket is going to be the absolute height of what's available. Anything you want to replace on it, the handguards, the buttstock, anything AKM aftermarket is definitely there for you. It's all ready to go. These do come with an optic mount on the side that's AKM spec, so you can run just about any AK optic mount that you want. It's going to have 14x1 threads, which is the most common thread pitch on any AKM regardless of caliber. So if you want to do anything to this gun, really it's set up to accept just about everything out there. Magazine compatibility, so PSA actually makes their own 5.56 AK mags that are honestly pretty good for the price. They are some of the cheapest, robust, best 5.56 AK mags on the market. I know it pains me to say that because it's PSA, like you just wouldn't think that, right? Well, they've got metal in all the right places, reinforced, locking lugs, The polymer seems to be really good, and they are modeled after AK-101 Russian mags. So they're slab-sided with a little bit of reinforcement ribs on the front side. These are honestly really good mags. I've had great luck with them. You're also gonna find that Polish WBP and FB translucent mags will work with that gun. AC Unity seems to work pretty well also. Can't confirm that any other mag will work well with that gun. Staying on the PSA topic, in the higher echelon of money, over 1,000, they do make the 5.56 Krink. So this is gonna be an 8-inch barrel Krink, like AK-74U pattern gun that PSA makes. It's really kind of been a very popular thing. Now, I've actually had one of these. Mine had an issue with steel case ammo, but brass case, it's been 100%. It's gonna be a bit of a mixed bag because it is a PSA gun. You'll have people out there that end up buying these that have great luck with them, never have a problem. And you'll have people out there that just get duds and they have to send them back into warranty. So I had a little bit of a mixed bag. Overall, my experience with the 5.56 Krink was very good. I found it to be accurate enough. I found it to take aftermarket products very well. And it's just been honestly a good shooter if I stuck with brass case. You have to remember with these PSA Krinks, however, the receiver is not true to form Krink spec. They actually have their own proprietary size receiver. So even companies like Sure Shot make their own PSA Krink specific chassis systems. If you were to buy one for a Bulgarian Krink, it's probably not going to fit on a PSA Krink, something you gotta worry about. I have also noticed that the 4.5 hinge pin mechanism on the PSA Krinks is kind of its own spec as well. So you may have an issue fitting any other 4.5 stock adapter or surplus stock on the Krink. I had a very hard time finding one that would work with mine. I just ended up running the PSA triangle stock, which seemed to fit it okay. But other brands, other manufacturers with the same 4.5 spec did not play nice with the Krink. So there's that. Briefly touching on their AR MagFed stuff, not really appealing to me, and I think it kind of spits in the face of why you would even buy an AK in the first place. I get buying a 5.56 AK, believe me, I do. But to own one that takes AR-15 mags, I think that's a little too far into left field. And I'm not a guy that ever says this because I think all calibers are cool in AKs. But an AR-15 mag and an AK, that's just a little much for me, man. So that's all I have to say about that. So moving on, if we stay within the $700 to $800 entry-level price point, really the only other manufacturer that comes to mind is Pioneer Arms. Now these are actually imported from Poland, so unlike PSA that are American-made, these are actually the cheapest imported 5.56 AKs that money can buy. And back in the day, you never knew when they were gonna do it, but Pioneer would end up dropping the price on these things over $100, and these things could be had for around $600 to $700. I actually got mine below $600. Don't know if that's ever gonna happen again because Pioneer Arms closed shortly after that. They've reopened since, and their 5.56 AKs are hitting the market again, a little over $700, so don't know if we'll ever see those crazy blowout prices again, but I digress. So what are they? Well, like I say, they are Polish-made AKMs out of Radom, Poland, not to be confused with FB or WBP, completely different Polish company. They have nothing to do with one another. However, they do share one thing in common with barrels. The WBP AKs, like I say, they're AKMs. They come in an underfolder version, fixed stock, and a pistol version. The bolts on these things are barrel spec. So barrels have very unique 5.56 AK bolts. They have like a very thin stem and a very proprietary firing pin. So one issue that you may run into with the Polish Pioneer Arms guns is they seem to go through firing pins pretty regular. Certainly the 5.56 models do. The one that I had is on its third firing pin within 2,000 rounds. However, ours is now a post sample. If you don't know what that means, look it up. So it's a little extraordinary, and we even have it on camera going through firing pins. You will find other videos of people that buy these things that also go through firing pins. Hopefully the new regime there has fixed that, because replacing those firing pins is almost impossible. You almost can't find barrel firing pins. They have completely disappeared from the market as of the filming of this video, so that's definitely a big negative to these things. Now, if you do end up getting one that runs well, here's what you got. You got a very cheap Polish AKM. Because it's an AKM, it takes all the different aftermarket products, just like that AK-101 from PSA, which means the sky's the absolute limit if you want to end up upgrading these things. You've got 14mm threads up front, left hand, so a ton of different brakes are available. The fixed stocks do have the optic rail, so they're ready to go to take optics. Underfolders obviously do not, because they would run into the optic rail. And the pistols, I think you can get them with or without. So at a very, very cheap price, you have an AKM that has a wide variety of aftermarket, can accept modern muzzle devices, modern optics, and you should be able to put K&S pistons in them and everything else. It can accept all of that. Magazine compatibility, Pioneer Arms makes their own. It looks like a very cheap mag. It has no metal in it. It kind of looks like a Pro Mag. Comes in all the boxes. So they do make their own magazine for it, but they do work with the WBP and the FB translucent mags. Those seem to work really well. I've actually had good luck with AC Unity. I've even stuffed a couple of Bulgarian Circle 10s in them that seemed to work okay, but it wasn't 100%. So right out of the box, you have at least 4 good, easy to find, some cheap options out there to work with those things. Oh, and if I didn't say it before, I know that the PSA 5.56 AK mags do work very well with those guns. So you have really good options magazine-wise. If you manage your expectations with those guns and you end up getting them at below retail, it's, in my opinion, probably one of the absolute best options if you can't even spend $1 over 800 bucks. Next up, we're in Century Arms territory, and really the only 5.56 AK that is readily available from them today is gonna be a little over 1,000 bucks. That's the BFT 5.56. This is kind of a weird one. The BFT, from everything that I can tell, is an amalgamation of several different variants. So on the front end of this thing, it's like you have 100 series 74 parts. You have a 90-degree gas block. You have a front sight post with 24mm threads, letting it accept AK-74 brakes with a thin barrel. The receiver, however, looks more as Zastava / RPK. It's thicker, it's bulged. The trunnion is also bulged. And you have a smooth reinforced dust cover. So that alone is about 3 different variants, all crammed into one. However, the furniture on this thing is all AKM spec. So it's like 4 different AKs all crammed into one. I will say I've shot one of these maybe twice in my life, very low round counts, felt good, had low recoil, and from the research I've done online, people seem to actually have good luck with these things. But in my opinion, that $1,000 plus price point kind of puts it in a weird place, because you could spend a little bit less and get a different experience, a better looking gun, something that's more AKM, or you could spend a little bit more and push yourself into WBP territory for like $100 to $150 more, which is probably what I would do. But if we're just talking about the BFT and that's what you like, if you want a really thick, heavy, robust 5.56 AK at around 1,000 bucks, it's really the only game in town. The furniture is AKM spec, so you can pretty much put any kind of AKM handguard set, grip, or stock that you want on this thing. It should accept it. And it should be out of the box ready to go for AKM optic mounts. Magazine compatibility, I'm pretty sure these things ship with like an AK-12 style AC Unity mag. So if it works with AC Unity, it should work with all of the Polish mags, your WBP, your FB. It should work with the PSA 5.56 Rock and Lock mags. Will anything else with this thing work? I doubt it. But you can let me know down below if you have one. If any other mag other than the ones I listed work with your gun, I'd sure like to hear it. But you get 4 different mags out of the box that should work. But you just get a gun that's kind of goofy, and I think out of all the guns on this list, it's probably the one that's going to hold the least amount of value over time, because it is so unique. It does not follow anyone else's rule book as far as specs go. Because of that, I feel like it's going to hurt the overall value as time goes on, which makes it not a very special gun. And they're so available, it's just not that interesting. But that's everything I can tell you about the BFT 5.56. Briefly, if we're talking about Century, there's also the SAR-3 that just sort of hit the market out of nowhere not too long ago. They didn't advertise it at all. I didn't see any promos about it. It just sort of hit all of these websites. Issue is, it's like $1,300 to $1,400 today. As of right now, that's what I'm seeing new ones sell for. The good thing about it is it's a real deal Romanian import. It's AKM spec. Everything under the sun will fit this thing. Should be ready to go for optics. However, Romania today is not Romania of yesterday. It seems like to meet certain price points, the Romanian guns coming in, the fit and finish isn't as good as it once was. The finish isn't great. The furniture is kind of bottom of the barrel stuff. It just is what it is. The big negative to this gun, in my opinion, is that it's supposed to take the East German pattern Weiger mags, which are extremely expensive. They don't really fit in any other 5.56 AK that I know of. However, there have been reports that people have good luck with these things accepting the PSA mags and the Polish mags. So I can't say that for sure, because these things have probably the tightest mag well out of every other AK on this list. So there's that. At the price point for what other guns, compared to other guns we're going to talk about on this list, That gun is nowhere near the ballpark of being worth $1,300 to $1,400. So it's not a great option in my opinion. Why Century didn't even really support these things or promote them when they came out, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. All right, moving on. Now we're around $1,000 to $1,200 price point, and that honestly gets you into some pretty interesting options, mainly WBP, which has to probably be one of the most popular AKs today, one of the most popular manufacturers, and one of the most popular part suppliers to anyone out there building AKs. Because it's Poland, we have a very steady supply chain from them. They're an allied nation. Those parts don't seem to be disappearing anytime soon. So they seem to be very aggressive with their marketing strategy, because you're going to see a few different things. You're going to see WBP 556 like builder kits, meaning you can buy them at a reduced price without any furniture. Pretty enticing, honestly. You're also going to see them in factory form, which is laminate wood all the way around. You're going to see 14x1 threads up front. You're going to see a 45-degree gas block, very AKM. But you're also going to see them sell the exact same gun with like the AK-74 front end with 90-degree gas blocks with 24mm thread-pitched front sight posts. That coupled with a smooth dust cover, they really do kind of look like Russian 74s from a distance, certainly when you put the right furniture on them. And you can even take, this is a good time to talk about these, if you want to go like full 74 clone, you could even take actual AK-74 mags, put a conversion follower in them. Pod Arms is probably the most well-known, which converts them to run 5.56. And if you snap one of those bad Johnnies in your WBP, it pretty much has all the same looks as an AK-74. So again, these are AKMs, so the aftermarket's gonna be everywhere. Tons of stuff available for these things. An AKM optic mount on the side, so any mount you have for your Wasserton or whatever else you have at your house that's already AKM, it should work on this gun perfectly fine. They are not going to have the same mounts that the Fox rifle had that will accept Polish military style quick detach rails. The Jack rifle kind of totally gets away from that, and I think they are much more popular than the Fox was, which is probably why you don't see the Fox around anymore. I don't believe it's been for sale for quite some time now. You'll also see WBP pistols. They make a variety of milled and stamped mini jacks and all kinds of stuff. It's all the same quality. It's all from the same factory. But if you look at the mini jack, it is a stamped shorter pistol version of its, 16-inch big brother. Has all the same features, has access to all the same aftermarket. So here's what I will say about the WBPs. I think that for the money, it's probably top two, one of the absolute best 5.56 AK options available today. At around $1,200, that allows you to get one that might have that AK-74 front end treatment. Maybe you're gonna spend like $1,250 before taxes. Everything on this list is before taxes. I think you're honestly getting a fully featured, ready to go, can take any aftermarket support, can take any optic AK from a factory that's honestly been doing very well. Magazine compatibility, obviously, they take their own WBP mags. They also work with the FB mags. They work with the PSA 5.56 mags. They will work with AC Unity. The only mag I'm not 100% sure on are the Circle 10s. That one I haven't really tried it with, and I have not tried the commercial grade Bulgarian mag. I have friends that own these guns that claim the $15 Bulgarian commercial mag works beautifully, which is good because that mag actually has metal reinforcement locking lugs. That's good. So you have a lot of mags out of the box that work for these. Now again, WBP parts are used in more guns than you probably know of. So if you look at all the big boutique manufacturers, your Rifle Dynamics, your Krebs, your M13, your Meridian Defense, any modern day 5.56 AK that they are making is 110% using WBP Polish parts. They're really the only 5.56 brand new made AK parts that anyone can get today. So all those really high-end AKs that they're charging a lot of money for, the core of them is all going to be WBP. The biggest negative with WBP is the bolts are kind of proprietary to WBP. They're not barrel spec, they're not totally AKM spec, they're not type 1, type 2, type 3 spec. WBP makes like their own style of bolts. It's almost like, it's like a 7.62 style bolt for 5.56. It doesn't have a thin stem, has a thick stem. It's very unique to WBP. So that being said, if you have any weird issues with firing pins breaking, if you have any issues with like lugs shearing off the bolt, you have to stick with WBP because, like as I said, it's proprietary. That's probably the biggest negative when it comes to these guns. They just didn't stick to any other pattern other than their own. They made their own pattern, so you have to keep that in mind if you're gonna end up buying one of these and putting a lot of miles on it. You will see people online say that they've had bad luck. You've even seen people online call WBP the PSA of Poland. Whether or not that may be true, I don't know. All I know is the parts are everywhere. Everyone's using them. You're always gonna have lemons. You're always gonna have bad eggs. That can be said about any manufacturer on this list, but by and large, at the price, they really seem to be killing it. And with the variety that they have at that price point, again, I think they're like top 2 most desirable new purchase 5.56 AKs available today, in my opinion. So sticking to that $1,200 plus price point, the next one to talk about is Zastava, another real deal import from a country that was once Yugoslavia. They are now Serbia, but the factory has been around for about 100 plus years. The Zastava factory has been making guns and cannons and all kinds of stuff for a very long time. So this particular variant should hold very good value because of the pedigree that the manufacturer has and the longevity that they have. The first gun I want to talk about is the M90. This is their full-size 18-inch Yugo pattern 5.56 AK, and I want to start by saying this is not a variant that was made for the commercial American market, kind of like the WPPs were. A lot of guns that they make are purely to sell to Americans. The M90 is modeled after the M90A, which was an old Yugoslavian 5.56 variant. Took steel mags, was able to launch grenades. They made them in fixed stock and underfolder. Zastava, we need an underfolder version of the M90 currently, but that was an actual military grade rifle that the M90 that we currently get is based off of. So it's not some thing they made just for us. It's a thing that they modified for us to own. Because they are Yugo pattern, they do not play nice with any AKM parts. Any aftermarket parts, furniture sets, optic mounts, anything like that will not work on a Yugo pattern gun. So what's so different about them? Well, the receiver is physically thicker and larger and is bulged to fit the bulged RPK style trunnion. That's just what Yugoslavia did back in those days. You'll also see things like 3-setting gas blocks, spring-loaded detents to hold on the dust cover, which is just a carryover back from when these things used to launch grenades. All that back pressure would launch the dust cover off, so you still have the spring-loaded detent push button. The 3-position gas block is honestly a feature that like no other AK in 5.56 is coming with from factory, and you get it on this gun. 18-inch long barrel, a slightly thicker barrel. It's got 14x1 threads, so there's a ton of different muzzle devices. And the optic rail, they're all gonna have rails, but again, Yugo pattern. So anytime you wanna end up putting an optic on a Yugo pattern gun, you have to buy Yugo specific optic mounts. So keep that in mind so you don't spend needless money and have to go through return processes. It's the biggest negative, in my opinion, to owning these things, but luckily for all of us consumers, the aftermarket has absolutely exploded on Yugo pattern AKs. Everything under the sun is available for them, just like for AKMs. It's not 10 years ago. In current day, you can find just about any handguard, any rail, any optic mount, anything you want, any buttstock adapter for Yugo pattern AKs, it's all available. Magazine compatibility, they come with Serbian-made plastic mags. They're trash, just toss them. But they do make Serbian-made steel mags. They're like 40 bucks a pop. These are the original pattern mags. They work the best, they look the best, they're the most reliable. So that's cool that you actually have a factory-made metal mag for a 5.56 AK. Very uncommon today. You will have good luck with the FB and WBP translucent mags. All the Polish stuff works. The PSA stuff works. I have even had good luck jamming a Circle 10 into it, but it wasn't, dead on balls reliable, and you really start to see the variance in thicknesses. But I would say out of AC Unity, the 2 Polish mags, the factory Serbian mag, and the PSA mag, you have 5 good reliable options to have mags that work in this gun. So I would say this is probably next to WBP. Those are the top 2. If you had about $1,200 to spend, maybe closer to 13, I would go between M90 and WBP. I think they're the absolute best buys today for over-the-counter 5.56 AKs at that price. Moving a little higher in the price range, $1,400 to around $1,500 puts you well within range of an FB barrel. FB Radom, the mini barrel at one time was half the price, but we'll talk about why that's not the case anymore. So at this price point, you're honestly opening up the door to one of the best AKs, honestly, to ever come in the country. The FB barrel is an actual military grade 5.56 AK that was used by a NATO country. Yes, a NATO country actually used a 5.56 AK. That's the barrel. So you can actually buy a semi-automatic version that is just as cool, just as well made, virtually the exact same gun from its military counterpart. The parts are the same, everything on these is the same. They are extremely well made, very long lasting guns. They are, however, very, very unique. And in that uniqueness and having that military pedigree, these guns will hold more value, if not more, than just about any gun on this list. I'll take you back in time when the barrel came in the first time, almost 10 plus years ago. We actually got some IO imported barrels that when they went away, these things were trading for over $4,000, the old Archer barrels. Fast forward to current day, Arms of America starts bringing in current barrels, and they're blowing these things out at like $1,500. So people are like, holy, it's the same gun, same quality, every bit the same gun at a fraction of the cost, and they are newly produced. So what is so damn cool and what is so interesting about the barrel? Well, they have 18-inch barrels. They have stamped receivers. They have proprietary upper and lower handguards. The ferrule that holds your handguards on is proprietary. They have a proprietary front sight post. They have a proprietary muzzle device that honestly is very difficult to get off, but there are options from AOA where you can actually buy these things with different thread pitches. That's how I would buy it. They have a proprietary mounting system. Earlier in this video, we talked about the Fox rifle that has the nipple that protrudes from the tang that holds your stock on and the grooves cut in your sight block. This is to hold a Polish military style 1913 rail that snaps into place over the dust cover. And that is what you're going to find on the barrels. That's the only way to put an optic on one of these things. You're also going to find enhanced safety levers. Honestly, a pretty good trigger, a proprietary grip, and a proprietary stock. And if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, you can actually do a one-to-one clone of the military configuration of the barrels that has the collapsible Archer stock, the same pistol grip that they used with grooves, the quad rail with a CAC front hand forward grip, and of course that 1913 rail. And with a couple of parts that are coming in, you can literally clone the military setup that Poland is even using to this day that won't last much longer. The second these guns are gone, which they will be gone very soon, I know AOA keeps finding one more batch of them, but they will be gone eventually. When they are gone, I think this is going to be the AK on this list that will gain the most value at the highest rate once they leave the market. It happened last time. It's bound to happen again. And if you look at the mini barrel, again, this is a pistol. This is a variant that I never thought we would see in this country. Untouched by American hands, not 922R compliant. I don't think they sold very well because they have a very goofy optic mount that raises up like a full 2 inches off of the sight block. A lot of people thought they were kind of ugly, but I don't think they realized how special they were at the time. Now they're gone, but when they were available, these things were selling at half the price of the full-size barrels, and now they're already trading on the used market for close to $2,000. At one time, you could probably get in one of these things for like $7.99 to $8.99 when they had the last of them. I personally own each of these guns, and I can tell you that they are incredibly well made. The attention to detail is honestly second to none. And to quote Larry Vickers, he traveled the world to make his AK books, and he said, in his opinion, the Polish AKs were some of the most were some of the best made, honestly. High attention to detail, best quality, really, really good stuff. You can still get a barrel today at $1,500. I think if you have that collector in you and you don't plan on modifying it other than with Polish parts, for an investment, it's the absolute best investment on this list. For a shooter, they shoot well, but there's not a lot of aftermarket that works without dremeling and having a gunsmith get involved. These things are not that, they don't play that nice with aftermarket support because of the way the handguards mount, because of how the stock mounts. They have a 2-piece safety mechanism, which is kind of different. So if you plan on being cool the way they are, which is how I am, I think it's a great buy. And magazine compatibility, honestly, they'll work with any Polish mag, the PSA mags, the commercial Bulgarian mags, and the AC Unity. I've tried them all. They all work, so you have a ton of mag options. But for the sheer fact that the day they leave the market, they're probably going to double in value, I think it's an easy buy. Compatibility-wise, there's not much out there. Reliability-wise, quality-wise, honestly second to none. So those are your FB Radom options. Next up on this list is the last available 5.56 AK currently, as of today. That is the Arsenal SAM-5, and we've taken a huge leap from 1,500 bucks to $2,200 starting price on these things. There's really not an in-between as far as currently available 5.56 AKs between 1,500 and 22. It just sort of takes a massive jump. So what is a SAM-5 from Arsenal? Well, a SAM-5 has a Type 3 milled receiver with a 100 series front end. So you got a big chunky milled receiver, the trunnion, the receiver, it's all one piece. You have a dual tang rear end, so your stock options are very limited to Type 3 style stocks. I'll show you a picture of what that looks like here. Now on the front end, it's kind of like a mixture of AKM and 100 series. So you have a thin barrel with a 90-degree gas block. You have a AKM style front sight post with 14x1 threads. You can buy them with a 24mm front end. It's an upcharge, and you can even buy them with the SF tubular folding stock, which is even more of an upcharge, and those are extremely limited. That will get you up close to around $3,000. So let's just talk about the base model, because at that point, you're looking to buy that thing, put it in your gun safe and never shoot it. It's a collector investment at that point. So $2,200 model. Those are the features that it has. It also comes ready to go with an optic mount, an AKM side rail on the side of the milled receiver. Pretty much the only milled receiver gun that we ever got that could take an optic like that. Really one of the only milled receiver guns to ever be sold to us in this country as new. They've been bringing these things in for a long time. The SAM-5 is fairly new. It's a fairly new import. They've been coming in for like, geez, 4 or 5 years now. Before they came in, this was like the ultimate arsenal. I wanted a SAM-5 really bad, and I kind of got one. I got my K101, which is a parts kits build. But if you end up looking at one of these things, you're gonna get sticker shock. If you look past that, you're gonna see, ooh, milled receivers, some parts are pretty proprietary, not a huge aftermarket, but there are a lot of manufacturers that do make milled front ends, meaning rails and handguards and all that, to snap into place. It is physically different. The void and the receiver, it's different from a stamped gun, so the parts won't work. And the stocks are very different, so there's really honestly the least amount of stock options for the Type 3 receiver guns like a SAM-5 compared to anything else out there. However, these are tanks. Arsenal Bulgarian-made AKs are known to be some of the most robust, longest-lasting go-to-war guns money can buy in this country ever. And the SAM-5 is no different. These are extremely well made. They don't have the same fit and finish as, let's say, the FB Barils. The paint might be a little bit cruder. You're not guaranteed to have like super straight sights, but they're gonna be good enough. And honestly, every Bulgarian AK I've ever had to this day still blows me away at the amount of abuse, the amount of rounds, the amount of torture they can take and still keep chugging along. So it is a gun that will last your lifetime. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Magazine compatibility. Another big bonus to this is you have access to probably the greatest 5.56 AK mag ever produced. That is the Circle 10 Waffle Mag. You've got metal in all the right places. You've got a spine on the front and on the back. You have a cage around your feed lips, and you have locking lugs. It has all the good stuff and none of the bad when it comes to what you would want out of an AK mag. These are extremely robust mags. They are expensive, kind of about 50 to 60 bucks these days, but they're out there and there's no shortage of them. They do run very well with all the Polish mags. They run well with AC Unity. These things will even run well with the highly coveted RPK 5.56 ribbed mag that trade for around $300 to $500. So you're probably not gonna come across one, but if you do, it will work very well with that gun. It's honestly one of the only guns that mag works very well with, other than like 106s and Molot 5.56 RPKs. Again, everything's cold hammer forged. You're really never gonna have a problem with it. I will say that a big batch of them came in very overgassed, so if you do end up with one of those, you're gonna have to put a K&S piston in it to dampen the recoil so the gun doesn't hurt itself, but it's not a big deal, and they seem to have fixed that. The elephant in the room is the price. Would I buy one at today's prices? Most likely, no. However, I will say, if you just want that one 5.56 AK, that will do everything. It's gonna hold value, might even increase a little bit in value. It will last a lifetime. It'll be more than accurate. You do have access to enough aftermarket parts where you can really have a highly capable SAM-5. I've seen guys have amazing SAM-5 builds, but they're like $3 grand plus invested on parts. But I will say, If you want that one do everything AK, it's optics ready, has a common thread pitch, you have enough aftermarket support, won't lose value, may even gain value, will last a lifetime, the SAM-5 is probably that one for you. It's not gonna be the one of 5.56 AKs you're looking to buy, because at that point, the price does not make sense. So me, since I own like 9 5.56 AKs, I definitely would not pay current prices for them. But then again, I'm not you. If you want that one do everything, that's probably the one, man. So out of all of the new ready-to-go AKs off the shelf that are available today, if I had to pick my top 3, my pick most likely would be a WBP Jack rifle. I just think it has the most features for the amount of money, and it's a bit more AKM than Yugo pattern stuff, so you're just gonna have that much more access to aftermarket. I just think it's the biggest bang for the buck on this list. Number 2, easily the M90. It is just right there behind the WBP. I think it's cool because it's different. I like how thick and chunky and heavy it is. It has a lot of features. It has the tunable gas block from factory. No other AK on this list has had that. And they're gonna hold value really well. It's a real deal import from a company that's been around for a very, very long time. So that is an easy number 2 for me. Number 3, I would have to say the SAM-5. It's extremely expensive, too expensive, honestly, for what it is. But if you just look at the gun for what it is the most robust tank of an AK on this list. And I would trust my life to that thing. I think they look badass. They are very smooth because of that milled receiver. They've got that telescopic recoil rod, especially when you start tuning gas on those things. Freaking Cadillacs. But they're just too expensive, which is why they're number 3. So those are my top 3 new productions available today. Let's go ahead and get into what you might find on the used market that was available at one time, but is now gone but not forgotten. Saiga Sporters. So you've probably seen these things at your local gun shop or at gun shows back in the day. These are Russian imports in sporter configs. So they look kind of like this. These would have had the Russian receivers, Russian barrels, everything on them is Russian, but they would have the goofy front end, the Monte Carlo stock, the trigger group would have been moved back. This made them legal to import at that time, but they never brought in a real deal 5.56 carbine. They never brought that in from Russia. They had 5.45s, they had 7.62s, but the 5.56 never came. So what you'd have to do is buy one of these sporters. These things are trading for a little over $1,000 now for slab-sided 223 Russian sporters. You would then have to acquire the right parts. We're talking gas tube, gas block, front sight posts, other components to have it converted into a 100 series or a fixed stock carbine, which then makes it extremely valuable. You can make these guns into a very valuable gun, but you're gonna pay every bit of that to get it to that point. But what you will end up with is a real deal Russian-made AK-101. It's gonna be the closest way for you to acquire one of those, which is probably the 5.56 AK of all time. If Russian 101s would have ever come in, that probably would be the top tier 5.56 AK in this country, but it's not. So those are available. Next up on this list is probably what is, in my opinion, the greatest 5.56 AK to ever be sold in this country, and that is the SLR 106 series of guns. You would have had the SLR 106 FR, UR, and CR, a 12-inch barrel, the little 8-inch freaking crink. Yes, there was a very high quality 5.56 crink brought in from Bulgaria. And then of course, the full length 16-inch, closest thing we ever got to an AK-101 FR. I have owned several of these things. I know from firsthand experience that they are extremely robust, long-lived, they can take a butt ton of abuse, and because they are AKM spec for the most part, sky's the limit on aftermarket. Now these are freaking feature rich, dude. If you were to score an SLR 106 FR, you're getting a rail, an AKM rail that can take any optic mount. You're getting the full 100 series front end. We're talking sexy 90-degree gas block, pencil barrel, the 24mm front sight post so you can run your 74 brake, 4.5 hinge pin in the rear with that beautiful 100 series folding stock that locks into the side of the receiver. Just beautiful freaking guns, man. Just all the features you would want from like a Russian 100 series minus, oh, I don't know, maybe the reinforced smooth dust cover because these have ribbed stamped dust covers. They've got virtually everything else, dude. Amazing guns. And at the time when they were new, these things were like 1,100 bucks, man. As of today, a good quality SLR 106 FR is probably gonna run you anywhere from 2,500 bucks if the guy likes you, over $3 grand. That's just what they're selling for. They are currently outselling 5.45 models and maybe right neck and neck to maybe just overselling 7.62 models, because the secret's out on these things. They're probably the most highly coveted used 5.56 AK on the market today. It is a no-brainer. If you find one of these things for like 2,500 or below, 110% jump on it. It's an amazing gun. Magazine compatibility is going to be everything that I said earlier on the SAM-5. It's going to be made for Circle 10 mags. It will work with Polish mags. It will work with Bulgarian commercial grade mags and AC Unity and that beautiful Russian Molot 223 RPK freaking mag for $500, brother. We'll work in that gun. The SAR-3 actually predates the WASR-3. It came in during the ban, so it's slightly ban compliant. These things are full-blown, very nicely made Romanian AKMs. Because they came in during the ban, they don't have threads on the barrel and they don't have bayonet lugs, but they've got everything else. And at this time, the Romanian AKs that we were getting, the SAR-1, 2s, and 3s, were honestly some of the best, most well-made Romanian AKs that we've ever got in this country. They are simply beautiful guns. If you were to compare an SAR-3 bolt and carrier to the current WASR-3 bolt and carrier, compare the gun, compare the furniture, compare how straight the sights are, it will be uncomparable. It will be that much better. They were really just way more well-made back then. If you were to ever encounter a SAR-3 from back in the day, for anything below 2K, especially if someone's already had the barrel threaded, buy it on the spot. You will absolutely not regret it. Now, if you have to buy one, you know, for well below 2K and you end up putting some barrel threads on it, you have increased the value, and you've honestly done the only thing that really needs to be done to those. Honestly, who cares that it doesn't have bayonet lugs? Who cares? Thread that barrel 14x1 if you can, and that will honestly be one of the nicest 5.56 AKs that one can own. Really, really nice gun. And finally, the most expensive 5.56 money can buy on the used market, in my opinion, are the Chinese 5.56 AKs. The NHM 90s, man, or the Type 84S. So the Type 84S is going to be your pre-ban variant. It's going to be fully featured with a fixed stock or an underfolder. The NHM 90 would be like the Mac 90 equivalent in 5.56. They're a bit rare, honestly. You probably have better luck finding an 84S. So these guns are known to be very well made, very reliable, but because they are pre-ban, you're probably going to start at $3,000. You'd honestly probably be lucky to find an 84S at $3,000. They're just going to be very hard to find. This is not a gun to modify. This is a gun to shoot somewhat every now and again and to put away and keep it as a collector piece, because they are going to blow up in value even more as time goes on. They are Chi-Com spec, different spec from AKM, different spec from Yugo, different spec from Type 3. Chinese did things their own way, so you have to be very conscious. If you are crazy and want to modify one of these things, there's honestly not that much out there available for them. And I honestly would leave the factory furniture on it. It's the smartest thing to do. Chinese AKs are known to have extremely good triggers from factory, very good. The biggest downfall of these guns, other than the price, are the magazines. These take steel mags that are extremely rare, extremely expensive. There are 30 and 40 rounders available, believe it or not, but man, they are hundreds of dollars. So that's the biggest downfall. If you can find one that has the mags ready to go and you want it for a collector value, cool. If you find one of these things that has one mag and you're planning on doing shooting, honestly pass on it. It's not gonna be the right 5.56 AK for you, in my opinion. Now, unless I have missed anything, we can sit here and talk about the finished valments, but we're skipping the finished valments, okay? I skipped it in the last video, we're skipping it again. Now let's go ahead and get into what is available somewhat from the boutique manufacturers. We honestly probably should have a part 2 to talk about those, but we'll go over them briefly and talk about what you're gonna end up spending and honestly what you're getting yourself into and what to expect out of some of these boutique manufacturers. We're talking about boutique manufacturers. What I mean is the gunsmiths out there or the manufacturers that are making like really high-end parts kits builds, or they're buying new AKs, souping them up, and they're selling them as like name brand AKs. I'm talking your Meridian Defenses, your Rifle Dynamics, Krebs Custom, M13. Some of these really high-level boutique manufacturers that are selling really expensive guns. They're finding some core parts and they're adding everything you'd probably ever want on it from the get-go and then putting their own twist on it, special furniture, special coatings, and they're selling them at 2 or 3 times the cost of other AKs on this list. So I won't sit here and go over every single option that's out there. Let's just talk about managing your expectations and what you're gonna get out of this thing. With boutique guns, you're gonna pay anywhere from, I would say on the absolute low side, $2,500 to the absolute high at around $5,000. Now, all the manufacturers I've listed and many more have had their own line of 5.56 AK. In the past, they were buying up Russian AKs or SLR 106s and they were modifying them. Rifle Dynamics did this a little while ago when they made their NATO AK. That's really not the case anymore. Any new production 5.56 AK you see from any of those top tier manufacturers, they're all using WBP 5.56 parts. It's really the only newly available 5.56 AK parts that exist today that can reliably come in the country. So you have to understand what you're getting is a very expensive AK. The heart of it is WBP. Now that being said, with a lot of these guys, you are getting feature-rich stuff. You're getting multiple optic mounts. You're getting ambi controls, sometimes left side charging handles, special spring-loaded mag releases, whatever thread pitch you want. They're coming pre-tuned for suppressors. They're coming out of the box with like 5, 6, 7 infinite position adjustable gas blocks or K&S pistons. Like, that's what you're getting when you buy into these. They usually have all that stuff ready to go. It can usually be bought a la carte, meaning you tell them, I want your X 5.56 AK with all this crap on it. What's it gonna cost? Well, it's gonna be about $3,700. And I want it in this color. Okay, well, it's gonna be about $4 grand. That's what you're getting yourself into with those guns. So the world is your oyster, honestly. You can look at any of those manufacturers, spend any amount that you wanna spend on a boutique AK. Like I say, I think the bottom is $2,500, and that's like bottom line starting price with no options, and you're gonna work your way up. It's gonna have WBP parts. It's gonna be a very cool AK. As far as holding value, that's where it gets tricky. It's kind of like buying a stock car versus the same car that's been heavily modified to fit your needs. Typically, the stock car is gonna hold way more value over time than the one that's modified, because the next guy in line might not like the color that you chose. They might not have that particular suppressor for the mount that you chose. They might not want tunable gas. They might not want ambi controls. Maybe they don't want that left side charging handle. So it's very subjective what these things are going to be worth once you get done with them on the used market. That's kind of up in the air. Who knows what they're worth, honestly. They're honestly worth what someone's willing to pay for them. Now, that being said, I've shot a lot of these top tier 5.56 boutique AKs from a lot of different manufacturers, and they 110% give you a sports car experience compared to what a lot of these other 5.56 AKs give you at first without modifying them, spending money on parts, tuning them yourself, which some people don't know how to do, refuse to do. So I will say, you definitely get your money's worth with a lot of these guys with the pure shooting experience. So if you just want to go straight to competitions, go straight to your classes, if you put a metric ton of ammo downrange, if you want to suppress it all the time, if you want the lowest amount of recoil possible, guns like that, certainly if you don't like working on your own gun, are really good options. So definitely something to look into. There's a hole in the market and they are freaking filling it. Well, guys, that's it. That's every AK that I could possibly think of, from $700 all the way up to $5 grand plus, and everything in between, MAC compatibility, values that they might hold, aftermarket compatibility, where to find them, where they once were, what they were sold for when they were new. That's literally everything I can think of. But I will say, if there's anything that I missed in this video, any magazines I may not have touched on, maybe some guns I completely forgot to even bring up, some stuff that might be available on the used market that I just didn't think of, use the comment section to further this comprehensive guide on 5.56 AKs. I think collectively we can all really answer a lot of questions and make this video have some legs for years to come. So yeah, use the comment section for all that. And again, I always appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope to continue to make videos that you guys want to see. This was definitely a viewer requested video. You know who you are. Hopefully this answered all your questions. And yeah, I'll take any excuse to talk about 5.56 AKs because I absolutely love the damn things. And I'm happy to see that they're finally coming into their own and they're like socially acceptable. Unfortunately, a lot of that has to do with 5.45 and 7.62 becoming very expensive. So freaking catch-22, but it is what it is. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. We'll see you next time. Love you, bye.